Nate, I said, what one? I want a home. Can I buy a home?
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
In today's guide, we're going to take you through the step-by-step process of buying a home.
That's right, Jade. We're going to take you through the deposit you need, the steps in buying a home, and everything in between. Let's dive right in.
Hey, before we get started, if you like today's video, make sure you give us a thumbs up or subscribe below. We try and release something every week and would love to see you there. All right, Nathan, so step one in the home buying process is working out if you can buy a home, obviously. But the most important question is, how much deposit do you have? Why is it important? How much deposit do you need today to buy a home?
The banks are generally after a deposit. Technically, the answer is no, you don't need a deposit. What? However, you would need assistance from a family member by the way of a parental guarantee. And that effectively works by leveraging equity in mum or dad's home. If you don't have the privilege of a parent or a family member assisting you, then the other option would be to come up with a deposit. Typically, the banks need anywhere from a 5 to an 8% deposit based on the purchase price. So if the purchase is worth $500,000, 8% of the purchase price is about $40,000. So depending on the bank, depending on the circumstances, that deposit does change. 8% is a good safe number to aim for. There are banks that will take lesser deposit. However, the majority at the moment are taking about an 8% deposit for first-time home buyers, particularly if you can find it under the stamp duty threshold.
Yeah, so as a bit of a bonus there, if you're buying a brand new property, you need a little bit less deposit. So for example, in Queensland, there's a $15,000 first homeowners grant. So you can use that towards your deposit, but then generally you still need about 5% in savings of your own money to cover the little bit of extra deposit and the other costs and things involved. Because like Nathan said, there's sometimes stamp duty that applies. All right, Nathan, so I've got my deposit, I'm ready to buy a place. I guess I should get a loan first, but what are some things that might stop me from being able to get my home loan or my pre-approval done?
There's probably 3 things that might get in your way with getting your home there, Jaden. First is your credit file. So depending on how many credit inquiries you've had on your credit file, if you've had bad history, if you've got a lot of Afterpay, Zip Pay, Wallet Wizard, these things can affect your application with the bank. So be careful of them. Try not to do too many inquiries on your credit file because it all does come back and get reported and can affect your ability to get a pre-approval.
The second one is your job history. So the banks want to make sure that you've been pretty stable in your job. If you've just moved jobs or if you're on casual, it can sometimes be a little bit more difficult. But if you've got a really strong job history, it's going to give you a lot more options into looking at your home loan and obviously your income and that sort of stuff.
The last one is the particular property that you're looking at. So if you're looking at a unit in a city that's less than 50 square meters, then you might have a bit of trouble getting that with minimal deposit. So just remember, depending on the property you're looking at, if it's a bit unique, a bit obscure, there might be some dramas with getting finances approved on it. The next step in the home buying process is organizing your team. Now, it is important to get the right people on the bus here. So Jaden, who are the people that you need on your team and why is it important to get the right members on it?
Yeah, so the first person to help you on the home buying process is your mortgage broker. So they're going to help determine the deposit, make sure you can get a home loan, and again, look at the different types of properties you're looking at. Because if you don't know that, you could just go down to your bank and you're up to basically blind luck. Because there's some banks, including major banks, that like Nathan said, they're not lending in inner city postcodes in certain areas if you're buying an apartment. So you can really get caught out. The second person on your home buying team, Nathan?
Is your solicitor, conveyancer, or settlement agent. Depending on where you are, they all named fairly differently, but they do the same thing, which is protect your legal interests during the settlement period. So the reason why it's important to have these solicitors or settlement agents on board is that they will assist in doing searches on the property, making sure the settlement goes through and the checks are exchanged for the title, and practically looking after your legal requirements. So the difference between a good one and a bad one can be the difference between completely stressed out and being run off your feet to try and find the specific paperwork that are required, then sitting back and relaxing and letting the solicitor do their job.
It's a bit of pina colada.
If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain.
The third person on your home buying team is a building and pest inspector. So like we've described in other videos, not having a building and pest inspector can be the difference between getting your property and having to pay tens of thousands of dollars in extra fees. So you definitely want to get one. They're very helpful in finding out if there's termites and issues with the properties, and it's not that expensive. As a bonus tip, Nathan, what do you do with your building and pest inspector?
It's highly recommended to go to the inspection with the building and pest inspectors, as the things you'll pick up that don't get put in the report when you're there with them in the cold face, belly to belly, looking at the property is astounding. I've had a first-hand experience of this myself, so highly recommended to go out there with the inspection.
All right, so Nathan, the next step in the home buying process, you've got your team, you know how much money you've got. It's about finding the property. That's pretty easy, right?
It can be, and it can't be. Because if you have way too many suburbs that you're looking at buying in, it can be exhausting and frustrating all at the same time.
What'd you do? Tell them.
So
Tell them.
when I looked to buy my first home, I had a list of suburbs I wanted to be in, and they're as long as 2 pages long. They were all over Brisbane. I was driving for hours on weekends, and it was super
He
frustrating.
was moonlighting with Uber.
Where is my destination? If you would kindly point
I
at where I am
pulled
supposed
into
to
your
go.
destination. It said here I was at your destination.
So it is recommended to reduce your suburbs down 2 or 3, no more. Become an expert in the area.
2 to 3 max.
2 to 3 suburbs, and become an expert in those areas. Understand what the median price is, how quick properties are selling, and you'll be able to find the right property that's going to tick all the boxes that you're after.
The reality is the best properties are only on the market for the shortest times. So if you're like Nathan and you're driving literally from Burpengary to Brisbane Downs and everywhere else in between, you're not going to find the best deals. You're going to get all the other trash that everyone's been picked over and looked at over and over. But if you're just a suburb expert in one particular suburb in Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne or whichever city you live in, you'll understand if there's good deals, if there's bad deals. You'll get to know the real estate agents in the areas, and you'll get high up on their list so you can get the best deals very quickly. So Nathan, the next step in the home buying process is researching the market. So we sort of touched on it in the last point, but what are some ways you can actually research the market to make sure you find the right home for you?
So I think the first thing is utilizing online reporting. You can go on realestate.com, domain.com, look at past properties like the property you're interested in that is sold. Alternatively, if you want an easier way, hit us up at huntergalloway.com.au and we can do an RP data report on the property. Effectively, RP data is what the real estate agents use. It gives a lot of information on the property, the history, other properties like it that have sold, so you can get an understanding of what that property might be worth.
A couple other really good tools, and we've got a whole other video which you can check out below, include Walk Score, awesome for seeing what's in the area, DSR data, again, good to see if the market's in, if it's going to grow or not. And the last one,
Hare and Todd White. So jump on Hare and Todd White's website. They're a property valuation firm, and they have a lot of information that they release each month in a report where they dictate where the market's going to go.
all right, Nathan, so I'm ready. I feel like I've made my way up through the home buying process. I found the right place, but will the bank accept it?
Well,
is that a thing?
It is absolutely a thing.
Some common properties that are rejected by the banks include
Properties under 50 square meters,
land over 2 hectares in size,
properties in poor condition that are uninhabitable,
high-rise apartments,
heritage listed properties,
flood zone properties.
and properties in small towns or remote locations.
These are all properties that the banks don't typically love. Some do, some don't, but again, if you're pre-approved, you really want to make sure that your bank's going to accept the property before you go in there and sign a contract. Which gets us to our next point. Nathan, the next step of the home buying process is making an offer. How do you do this? Can I just make it verbally over the phone, or what's the process?
It's key to put your offer in writing. So whether you put it on an expression of interest, which is a one-page document that the real estate agent will give you, or a full copy of the contract to sell, once again, you get that from the offer, from the agent. The key is to put everything in writing so that the agent will show the vendor.
Again, we've got a whole other video on this. Check it in the comments below. All right, Nathan, so I've signed the contract, my offer's been accepted. Is my loan approved? What's the next step in the process?
The bank will complete a valuation of the property. If you've done a pre-approval, the good news is a lot of your legwork's already done. If you've not done a pre-approval, you better act quick and start moving in the home buying process, as the bank's going to need to do valuations, assessments of your application, and get the general process started. So from here, once a valuation is back, the bank will do a once over on it and then give you that loan approval. Congratulations.
Mwah.
Pop the champagne, it's time to celebrate. Your loan is now approved.
right, Nathan, so the next step in the process, now the loan's approved, is just signing the contracts and moving in. Step us through the steps in this process and what happens next.
Once your loan's approved, it's time to get ready for settlement. So the bank's going to issue loan contracts. These contracts will need to be signed and sent back in a timely fashion. So don't delay. As soon as you get them, sign, send them back to the bank, and then the bank will generally take care of the rest of the process with your broker and your solicitor, all liaising with each other to get ready. The only one thing to remember is if you still have to put more deposit down, you'll need to move that into your bank account, which is the bank that you've got the loan approved through, or the solicitor's trust account prior to settlement. So just remember this one prior to everything happening.
And now it's also time to apply for your first homeowner's grant. So this is something that people always want to know, when do I apply for the first homeowner's grant? It's once your loan has been approved. That's when your mortgage broker can generally help you with that process, certify your documents and get it all sorted to make sure that money is going to be in the account come settlement.
So Jaden, it's time for settlement. Is there anything I need to do before I pick up the keys, or what do you suggest?
Yeah, so just before settlement, you want to do a final inspection, or sometimes it's called a pre-settlement inspection. It's an important part of the home buying process because you want to make sure that nothing has changed in the property, that they haven't kicked in any walls or they've removed a microwave that should have been there that you're expecting. So usually you do that on the day of or the day before settlement. And then like you said, Nathan, on the day of settlement, that's when you get the property. So what happens then? The bank will settle, and then when you get your keys.
Yeah, you don't need to attend the settlement. Your solicitor's going to take care of it all for you. All you have to do is wait for the call from your solicitor and then go to the agent's office and pick up the keys. It's that simple. Everything at settlement is taken care of for you.
Can I pop the champagne now, Nate? So we're home? We're there?
We're home and home. So congratulations, guys. You are done and dusted. You've got the home, and it's time to celebrate.
So that's it today. Hope you guys liked the video. Which part of the home buying process did you not know? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you've got any questions, hit us up at huntergalloway.com.au.